Welcome to the second lecture of the drilling and blasting technology. In last class, we have discussed about the drilling, and the introduction to drilling is already discussed to you. You have understand the overview of drilling, what is the present status in the world, what is the history of drilling in the world, as well as the national status also. You have understood the learning objective, why you should read drilling part and what is the objective of this course, and if you carry on this course, what you can do in your professional life related to drilling. So, that was the retrospect of the last class, and last class we have also mentioned properly that this drilling technology is limited to the drilling in the rock for excavation purpose. This is the drilling in the rock for excavation purpose. Other drilling requirements, though it was shown in the last class, but it is not within the purview of this course. So, this is for the rock excavation, drilling for the rock excavation, and the drilling is carried out only to place the explosive inside the rock, so that the explosive can be exploded for rock excavation. So, basically that is why this course is drilling and blasting, and now let us see the overview of explosive. So, you can see the moment we talk about explosive, you understand that something has to be exploded. So, in this video you can see we are exploding a military ammunition, then we are exploding a building intentionally. This building is being exploded because it is damaged, it has to be exploded, it has to be demolished. Similarly, you can see in this video we are going for the excavation of the rock for civil construction purpose. You see, this rock is being excavated so that a newly road can be constructed in the hilly terrain. So, this rock excavation is carrying out for civil construction purpose. So, this you can see this is a mining case where the excavation is being carried out for the mining purpose, and this is a very good video. You must observe this with a little bit patience, and I must tell that this is one of the very good quality of blast. If anyone ever ask you, you can see and you can tell them that this is a very good quality blast carried out in this case. You can see so many explosive is being blasted, and the rocks are being fragmented. So, what is happened here? The drills are creating the holes, in that hole explosives are given, and the explosive, when it is exploded, the rocks are fragmented, and such a beautiful fragmented rock you can see the moment this gas will be goes out, you will find out how the explosion occurred and how the rocks are moving. This is in a not in a real time, this is a slow pace time, this is showing in a very slower mode, and how fantastic fragmentation occurred. So, that is why I told earlier this is a very good quality blasting. This is the explosive explosion in the underground case. You can see the holes are there, and it is now initiated, the connections are being blasted now, and after this blasting of this connection, you will find out the rock will be broken by the explosion of the explosive. So, you understand that explosive is a chemical if it comes in the contact with the flame or something stimuli, then it explodes, and we commonly know this. We know the explosive also, which comes into the contact of heat or flame and exploded. And what is happened when we intended to do this, when we want that there must be some explosion created by the explosive, that is called blasting. If it is accidentally occurs, that means if the chemical is exploded, but not as at our intention, but accidentally, that is called explosion. So, often you have heard that maybe some oil tanker is going on the street and it is exploded because of some stimuli or some fire comes into the contact of the oil, it is exploded, that is unintentional, that is why it is called explosion. If intentionally it is being done, then this is called blasting. So, basically explosive, the moment we utter this term, we find that this causes the people, they are very sensitive by hearing this term explosive. The reason is explosive is a small chemical and huge quantity of energy is stored in this, and the most problematic is the moment this energy is released, it is released almost instantaneously. So, this instantaneous release of the energy from a small source make it so dangerous. That is why people are afraid of this, people do not like to touch it, do not like to come in close to this, and the moment some explosive is recovered from some place, the total area has been asked to be vacated. So, because of this enormous storage of energy, explosive is so dangerous. So, that is why this explosive handling is very careful, and explosive must be taken care by the authorized person who know the details of the explosive. In fact, this course is such so that after going through this course, a person should be considered about the expert in explosive and blasting, and he can be considered as a competent person who can handle explosive for any case. It may be during the rock excavation case, it may be during the handling of explosive case, it may be during the manufacturing of the explosive case. So, that is why this attending these lectures in this course is very important to know the details of the explosive and blasting of this. So, let us see the history of the explosive first. What was happened in the ancient China, first explosive was discovered and no one knows who has discovered it, but the explosive steel which we are using in our as our crackers etc., that explosive was developed in the ancient China, and they developed that for their amusements, and that is the first discovery of explosive, and that was the only explosive since the middle age. Later on those formula were stolen by the European people, and then those formula were used in the Europe for a long time, and the further development related to explosive were occurred in the Europe, USA, Australia etc. And this explosive history is very interesting, and you will find out most of the time the new explosives were developed from some accidents. So, explosive basically a chemical which is storing huge quantity of energy, people are afraid of that, and it is essential that we should know how this energy should be released from that small chemical and how that can be in the controlled manner will be utilized for as per our intention. Basically, rock excavation is also one type of that. We utilize this huge energy for some good of the civilization, where we break the rock for the development of the civilization. But as you have seen the video, there we have found the first video was shown to you that one navy ship was releasing one missile which is carrying the explosive. So, this is basically the use of explosive for the war or terrorism. And see, this is very unwanted use of explosive. Probably the scientists who discovered those explosives never thought of this type of utilization. But anyway, this is not within our hand, but we classify this type of use of explosive as the military blasting, so that this is completely unwanted for us. We are more really interested in the use of explosive for the blasting of our commercial requirement. One requirement is the building demolition. One building demolition video is already shown to you. This photograph I am showing to you, where n number of chimneys are there which are being blasted for demolishing, so that the economically the structure will be demolished. And another requirement is the excavation of the rock material. Some of the excavation of the rock material videos are shown to you. This is one similar type of use of explosive, and this type of use of explosives are called commercial explosive. But this is not the limitation of the use of the explosive. Apart from this, there are other use of explosive. Say one very good of explosive is being carried out by the geological exploration people, where they explode the explosive inside the earth crust to generate the seismic wave, which they utilize for their seismic exploration of the earth crust. In fact, say oil are being explored of that type of cases, exploding some explosive inside the earth crust, seismic wave generates, the reflected seismic waves are measured, and the resources of the oils are identified like that way. So, there are n number of such type of utilization of the explosives are there, which are commercial use, but not for the military purpose, not for the excavation purpose, but for other purposes we are using. This present course is limited to the commercial blasting of the rock excavation only, and the objective of this blast is to fragment the rock mass in a desirable size distribution. This is very important. This is not that we are fragmenting the rock mass in some few number of very large pieces and few number or huge quantity of dusts. That is totally unwanted. We want that the fragment size should be there, that means the rock mass will be fragmented in such a manner different size of fragments should be generated. So, this generation of different size of fragmented rock is called fragment size distribution. So, we want the explosive should be used such a way, so that the rock mass will be fragmented and fragmented to a desirable fragment size distribution. So, that is the main objective of use of explosive for the rock excavation. There are other purpose also of using explosive in the rock excavation, but the primary purpose is that we want to fragment the rock to our desirable size distribution. So, this is our essential requirement, that we must use explosive, place those explosive in our drill holes such a manner, so that the explosives explode, the explosive energies will be utilized for fragmenting the rock. We want to throw the rock also, so that it is fragmented and it is dislodged or moved a little bit but we do not want that it should move a lot. We want that fragmented rock should move a little bit, so that some loading machine, some gathering machine should come and take out the next processing or next handling of the fragmented rock. So, this throw of fragmented rock is wanted, and it is wanted judiciously. And if you look into the present days scenario, in India only for rock fragmentation purpose, we are using few million tons of explosive every year. So, let me give you some account of rock excavation what we are carrying out in India, not the world scenario. In Indian scenario, we are excavating more than 2 billion tons of material. That means 2000 tons, million tons of material we are excavating every year from more than 4000 mines, and we are utilizing few million tons of explosive for excavating those rocks. This is for the mining purpose only. Apart from that, huge quantity of explosives are also required for the civil excavation purpose in the tunnels, in the roadways, in the trains, in the metros. All those places we need to excavate the rock using the explosives only. But there are some problems of using explosive as a source of energy for the excavation purpose. The first problem is that explosive is a chemical source of energy. We utilize that in blasting for releasing the energy, utilize that for fragmenting the rock. But what is happened? This release of energy from chemical to the mechanical shock energy or to the heat energy, which is being carried out in the explosive, is very uncontrolled. That means, the release of energy from explosive is very uncontrolled, and that is why a knowledgeous person, a technically competent person is essentially required to design these explosions. Unless and until these explosions are designed to be termed as blasting, this explosion can go to any way. It may lead to a positive way, to the negative way. So, that is why we do not want there should be any injury, we do not want that there should be any fatalities while the blast is being carried out, while the explosive is being handled, and that is why this course is very important for generate the competent manpower, to generate the competent manpower in the field of drilling and blasting technology. So, rock is fragmented by blasting utilizing the shock energy releases from the explosive, and remember, this release of energy is instantaneously. If you look into the intention of the releasing of energy from explosive, it is almost less than a millisecond. So, that is why this release of energy can be considered as the instantaneous release of energy, and this is very high. Often the pressure which is generated by this release of energy exceeds 2,50,000 bar. So, that means this is very high, this is more than 250 kilobar pressures are generated by the explosions, which if something comes in front of that explosion, it will devastate that one. And this biggest problem of uncontrolled energy release demands very careful and judicial handling of the explosive. Therefore, it is very strongly recommended that a person must go through the basic courses of drilling and blasting prior to be considered as a competent person as the blaster or as a blasting technologist who can give 100% safety during the use of the blasting. In fact, In fact, use of explosive or handling of explosive by incompetent persons are strictly banned as per the law of the country. Nowhere throughout the world it is allowed to handle, hold, use explosive by any incompetent person. So, this course is designed to achieve the objectives. First, again, as we are using explosive to fragment the rock, here the rock is the medium. So, first we need to understand the rock as a blasting medium which would be fragmented properly. So, that means we have to place the explosive inside the rock. How it will be placed? It should be distributed inside the rock mass. How it will be distributed? It will be spatially distributed, that means it will be distributed in space. If you think imaginary, that to achieve the best fragmentation, what we want? That we want that every small cube of rock should have a very small element of explosive, so that it can be fragmented properly, and that explosive must be placed at the center point of the block. But practically this is not possible. We have to drill as per our desired drilling pattern, so that we can distribute the explosive spatially inside the rock mass, and this spatial distribution will give us good distribution, which can give us the better fragmentation, which can give us the desired fragmentation of the rock mass on explosion of this explosive. We want this course, one of the objective of this course again, that the student should understand the different explosives and the accessories. So, explosive is the requirement, is the storage of energy, which is the requirement to release the energy for the blasting. But explosive needs some accessories also. These accessories are essentially required to provide the safety of the people who are handling this. Not only that, this will also provide the tool to the user, where he will control the release of energy from one position to another position. That means, these accessories is the tool, these accessories are the tools for the blast designer, blast engineer, where he will control the release of the energy inside the rock mass. Apart from that, he is achieving his own safety using these accessories. So, these accessories are very important in the explosive and its use in the commercial blasting. Blasting always associated with some special terminologies. Say, I am giving you one example, say burden. Burden means, if you are coming to the literally term burden, burden means something which is dumped onto you. You are unable to withstand the load of that, that is called burden. You may tell, sir is giving more burden to us, more, that means I am giving more task to you. So, this burden, but if you are using a burden term in the blasting, then the burden term is different, because here burden is the a specified length of rock mass which is intended to be blasted by one group of explosive. So, that means the terminology is little bit different in the blasting, and a blasting technologist, a blasting engineer must know the use of these terminologies. So, one objective is to understand these terminologies. Then next, which is very important, and personally I believe without this knowledge an explosive engineer should not be considered as explosive engineer, that is the understanding of the explosive rock interaction. That means, the moment explosive is generating the seismic waves, explosive is generating the mechanical wave, how that mechanical wave is interacting with the rock, how that is propagating, how that is fragmenting the rock mass, how the fragmented rock mass are dispersed from the place or moved from the place. If explosive engineers are unable to understand this, then they cannot be considered as the competent person. So, this is very important objective of this course. I want each and every student must understand the explosive and rock interaction, and this explosive rock interaction will lead you to the understanding of the theory of rock blasting, how the rocks are being blasted in different conditions, different spatial distributions, how the rocks will be blasted, that is the theory of the rock blasting. This is one of the main objective of this course. This based on this blast theory, one has to know the blast design criteria. Then if the matter is like this, a blasting engineer should be given task, engineer should be given task that you have to address this solution. That means, you have to address this fragment size distribution with this quantity of throw and with limitation or with the constraint of these are the other environmental parameters. So, this is the constraint which you need to address, this is the target which you need to address, and for that you have to design a blast. So, understanding of the blast design criteria is very important. The next point is to design a blast round. Considering the criteria, one person has to design the blast round. Again, it is for surface excavation. That means, the second one is underground excavation. That means, whatever is the excavation, whether it is in the surface or it is in the underground, the laid down target is there, desired fragment size distribution, design control breaking, desired throw, all these targets are there, constants are there, fume characteristics constants are there, vibration constants are there, throw of the rock, fly rocks, etc. All those constants are there. One has to address those constants, one has to address those target, and considering that he has to design the blast. Apart from that specific requirement, one has to understand which leads to the which is required in the blasting in the explosive environment. That means, if you are considering the case of the underground coal mines, where because of the occurrence of the methane, etc., it is the environment itself is the explosive environment, still the blasting has to be carried out for excavating the rock. So, the special requirements are there and the blasting engineer should understand those requirements. Then the next objective is to measure and calculate the performance of a blast. I strongly believe, if the performance is not measured, performance is not calculated, then the technology cannot be approved, the technology cannot be accepted. So, the moment a blasting engineer is designing some blast, he must able to measure or calculate the performance of this, he must able to calculate the financial appraisal of the blast, so that whether that blast is economically acceptable or not, that can be addressed. And not only the end of that performance, but also essentially it is required that the student must able to understand and assess the environmental impact of the blasting. So, that is very important. The blasting should not create any nuisance to the environment. There are some special blasting methods required, that has to be one of the objectives students should learn. And the last but very important, the safety precaution requirement in the blasting and in the explosive handling. This is essentially required because the explosive is the huge source of energy, and that immature release of that may lead to any type of fatality. So, what is the expectation? My expectation that if a student is appearing in this course, studying it well, he must able to design a blast round for rock excavation, irrespective of the geomining condition. It may be strong rock, it may be weak rock, it may be in the underground case, it may be the surface case, it may be a surface case where the inhabitants are very close. We do not want that rock should fly to his house. It may be the surface case where some sensitive structure is there, historical structure is there. It may be the case where explosive environment is there like underground coal mines, but we need to blast it. So, in this all type of cases rock has to be excavated because it is the need of the civilization, and our student must address by designing those rock excavation by blasting after going through this course. I must want that a student also should evaluate the performance of the blast what he has designed. He has designed a blast, if he is unable to evaluate its performance, evaluates its economics, evaluates its safety precautions, then it is very difficult. So, that is why the student should know how to evaluate the performance, and they must evaluate the performance in economic term, in safety term, in environmental term. They must estimate or evaluate the environmental impact of the blasting. They must evaluate the economics of the blasting. They must know how to optimize the performance of a blast in case of surface and underground mines. Say this is very important part. Say always having the highest profit may not give you the optimized one. So, highest profit may be achieved in the blasting unit operation only, but that may lead to loss in other unit operations. So, optimization is very important where all the unit operations will be considered and the overall costing will be minimized. So, optimized performance by a blast design for both surface and underground excavation is very important, and I want my student must know how to do this one, and this must lead to two SOP, standard operating procedure. Our the student who are attending this course should able to design the standard operating procedure for the rock blasting, because everyone in the vicinity of the blasting area, everyone associated with the blasting practices should know this standard operating procedure, because there may be a small mistake by a person that may lead to the fatality of 20-30 people. So, that is totally unwanted. We do not want any ignorance should go for that one. That is why standard operating procedure must be developed and must be followed for every blasting practice, and not only in the blasting practice, but also it is essentially required for the explosive handling. That means, the moment you are releasing, you are issuing the explosive from the magazine, from that moment till the explosives are being used in the mines for the blasting, and the excess explosives are returned back to the magazine again for their storing purpose. Till then the magazine, the explosive, everything has to be handled with a standard operating procedure. There should not be any deviation allowed in the standard operating procedure, and I want the people who are attending this course should know how to design these SOPs. Now, let us consider the textbooks and reference books. So, these are the books students must follow during this course. These books are very good. These books are available in the internet, available in the most of the libraries. There are some reference books also which are available, very commonly available to the libraries and the internet resources. Apart from these lectures, videos that could be helpful for the student for their using this in this course. Thank you.